Saint Francis of Rome was born in 1384 and died in 1440. She was given visions of heaven, hell, and purgatory, and they have finally been interpreted from Latin for the first time into English by Father Robert J. Nixon. And I have been doing a series this whole week from this book, which describes in detail some of the punishments for various sins. Today, I read from the chapter that says, the punishments for wicked women, including gossips, foolish virgins, sinful widows, and those excessively concerned with physical beauty. I haven't read this chapter yet. I'm almost afraid of what it's going to say because I know I've gossiped and I know I've been too concerned with physical beauty. Let's see what the punishments are if we die unrepentant for these sins. Frances was stupefied by this grim series of visions, but nevertheless she took courage from the reassuring words and the presence of Saint Archangel Raphael, her angelic companion. Fortified by his supernatural support, she was then transported to the realm where various wicked women were chastised, including those guilty of malicious gossip, foolish virgins, sinful widows, and also those who had been excessively captivated by vanity and concern for the cultivation of physical beauty. The place where those who were guilty of gossip were detained as replete with a volatile, ever-flickering fire which filled the air. The tongues of this fire moved about capriciously and maliciously, just like those human tongues which habitually disseminate harmful gossip. To punish those who had become slaves of this heinous and insidious sin, and the related faults of slander and detraction, there was a huge, certain demon, dressed in the black uniform of an executioner. This demon had 7 heads, each one hideous to behold, and which were all able to move about freely and independently upon the end of a grotesquely distended neck. The first of the heads of this polycephalous and malevolent monstrosity would seize the heart of the guilty souls who were present with its teeth, and then forcibly tear it out. Then the next head would attack the tongue of the gossiping soul and bite at it ravenously with its own sharply pointed teeth, eventually ripping it from the mouth completely. It would then toss the severed tongue to the third head, who would place the bloody organ into the blazing furnace until it began to cook and crackle. The fourth head would then extract it from the fire and insert it forcefully and violently back into the mouth of the unfortunate soul. The fifth head would attack the soul's eyes viciously until the eyeballs ruptured and the ocular juices spilled out. The next demonic head was equipped with a long, pointed tongue that would dart sharply into the ear of the soul, drawing out through these same orifices pulsating gray lumps of brain tissue. The seventh and final head of this demon would snap at the nose of the victim, scratching and wounding it until it bled profusely. Other demons were also present there, whose role it was to pour out continuous insults upon the souls who had indulged in the vice of gossip and detraction. "Oh, contemptible and vile wretches," they exclaimed, "you once used your eyes and ears to pick up nasty information about your neighbors. You constantly poked your noses into that which did not concern you. You used your heart to nourish malice and malevolence, and you used your puny, pusillanimous brains to invent lies, and your tongues to spread them. And now you suffer all that is due to you." Next, Francis beheld the place where foolish and hypocritical virgins were punished. These were women who had professed vows of chastity and who had preserved their physical virginity, and who made a great show of pretended sanctity and external piety. But inside their hearts, they had harbored thoughts and feelings that were quite contrary to their public vows. For they had either nourished spite and malice towards their neighbors, or cultivated the evil root of pride, or sought eagerly after sensual luxuries and the adulation of others. These souls were bound with iron chains and fiery robes, and resembling the habits of religious sisters were placed upon them. And a demon inhabiting this area would taunt them constantly, saying, "You foolish virgins, you made such a proud display of outward purity, but inside you were filled with impurity and vice. The robe of apparent innocence, which you so hypocritically wore in the world, is now exchanged for a robe of scalding fire. For such a garment is indeed more befitting to your true character." And having concluded this mocking discourse, the demon would then erupt in an ear-jarring cacophony of wicked laughter. Not far from this place was the area where the sinful widows received the retribution due for their offenses. These were all bound by robes to one tree of prodigious size, a gnarled, knotted, and most sinister oak. Depending upon the nature of their sins, some were tied around the neck, while others had ropes affixed to their feet or arms. This eldritch and ghoulish tree bore a great multitude of large acorns. These appeared at first to be fine, wholesome nuts, aglow with fullness and vitality, but a second and closer look revealed that they were in fact filled with writhing maggots, and that putrid black juices oozed out of them. These maggots would drop from the nuts upon which they fed into the mouths of the souls of the wicked widows suspended from this tree. There was also a dragon that circled the tree and would frequently strike out with its talons or jaws to inflict pain upon these wicked souls. This dragon could speak, and in a reptilian's sibilant voice, it would say, "Oh, wretched souls who are not content with the state of holy widowhood. Instead of pursuing prayer and good works as behooved you, you threw yourselves wholeheartedly into gossip, gambling, drunkenness, idleness, gluttony, vanity, and lust. Such indeed were the foul things you sought in life. Now let these foul worms and maggots fill your desires. You bound your souls to the evil tree of the sinful and wicked world by means of the multitude of your vices. Now you are bound to this tree of filth and shame forever and ever." Finally, Francis was taken to another place of torment, where those women who had been excessively concerned with the cultivation of physical beauty were duly punished. These included all those females who had used spells, charms, and philters to increase their ability to captivate men, and those who had used cosmetic artifices to enhance their looks in a deceptive manner. Francis was aghast to note that some of them had living serpents coming from their heads in place of hair. The angel Raphael explained to the saint that these were all the souls of the women who had been obsessed with the beautification of their hair while they lived, at the expense of proper attention to their domestic and religious duties. There were others who were robed in what appeared to be fine and brilliant dresses, but these were fashioned not from silk or soft fabric, but from closely woven strands of flickering fire. And in the places where gemstones are customarily worn, such as the neck and fingers, glowing coals were positioned instead. And there were demons who exclaimed derisively to the first group, that is, those with snakes in place of their hair, "While you lived, your hair was your greatest concern and pride. Now let these living serpents decorate your scalp." Meanwhile, other fiends addressed themselves to the second group, who were dressed in the garments of fire. "During your time on earth," they said, "you wished desperately to appear bright and radiant before others. Well, hopefully these vestments of flame will fulfill your wish, and your vain hearts yearn for glowing gemstones, for rubies of sparkling red and diamonds of scintillating clarity. Well, let the glow of these red-hot coals and the glimmer of their luminous sparks satisfy your shallow desires. And finally, you sought to have all men pay you their undivided attention. Well, instead of the attention of mere mortal men, you now have countless undying demons who will never cease to pay you court, even for a single moment." I don't know about you, but these are making me think twice. These are visions approved by the church, private revelations given to Saint Francis of Rome. And I dare say they were given to her so that you and I might know that heaven, hell, and purgatory are all real, that these punishments are not slight, and that we need to do everything we can to work for eternal glory in heaven with God. Do not be like one of the foolish that I just read about, and continue to live your life as if this is the only life you have. Live your life for your eternity, and choose to spend it in a place where you will not be tormented, but get to look upon the face of God. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for listening to this Bacon Bit. And I would like to remind you to live your life sunny side up.